FTSE 100 index closes higher. U.S. stocks gain ground. Inspirit Energy surge continues. Veltyco raises the alarm. 5:05 p.m. FTSE closed up. FTSE 100 index rallied from earlier lows and closed in positive territory on Friday as U.S. stocks also headed north as traders were upbeat on a potential U.S.-China trade deal. The UK's premier share index closed up around 10 points at 7,302, while the mid-cap FTSE 250 gained over 172 points to stand at 20,404. The Dow Jones Industrial Average added around 146 points, while the broader-based S. The White House economic advisor Larry Kudlow reportedly earlier said the two supereconomies were close to striking an accord, but he gave no definitive timing as to when it would happen. U.S. equities are pushing higher after a shaky start, with equities having weathered options expiry in positive fashion, said Chris Beauchamp, the chief market analyst at IG. Kudlow's trade comments have provided the foundation for the bounce, and a solid bounce in U.S. retail sales compared to a month ago has added fuel to the fire, he said. Even the lackluster FTSE 100, which has spent the week diverging from the U.S. in impressive fashion, is managing to stage a late rally. The market analyst also said that talk of the Dow Jones at 30,000 by Christmas may not be quite so far-fetched as previously thought. 3:25 p.m., dull end to a drab week in sight. London's index of leading shares looks set to finish the day and the week on a low note. The FTSE 100, after a bright start, has spent most of the day in the doldrums and is currently 17 points lower, 0.2%, at 7,256. It's been another mixed day for markets in Europe, with the FTSE 100 underperforming as the Labour Party unveiled a plan to nationalise a good part of the UK broadband network. European markets have fared better with gains across the board, as investors take their cues from US officials that a deal is close to being sealed. Comments from Larry Kudlow, President Trump's chief economic advisor, which were followed by Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross, that a Phase 1 deal had a very high probability of happening, has helped maintain the late-week optimism. It is notable, however, that while U.S. markets have continued to make new record highs, European investors are more circumspect, unsurprising given we still haven't heard what President Trump's decision is likely to be on any suspension of EU auto tariffs, while the deteriorating situation in Hong Kong could also play a part in the overall Phase 1 trade story, said CMC's Michael Hewson. The top riser on the London market was Inspirit Energy Holdings plc, LON, INSP, which more than doubled in price to 0.18p. The shares started the week at 0.035p, but Wednesday's announcement that it had been invited to demonstrate its Stirling engine application, developed for the company's MCHP, micro-combined heat and power, boilers, lit a fire under the shares. Going the other way was Veltyco Group plc, LON, VLTY, which saw its share price almost halve after a trading update. The online marketing company for the gaming industry cast doubts on its ability to continue trading as a going concern, as it warned that income from its affiliate business had dropped right off as a result of reduced marketing activities. 2:40 p.m., new intraday highs for U.S. indices. The Dow Jones average quickly raced to a triple-digit gain when U.S. markets opened. The Dow was up 103 points, 0.4%, at 27,885, while the broader-based S. There was talk in some circles, however, that it may be too soon to say that the worst may be over for the global economy. A growing number of indicators suggest that the downturn in global trade and manufacturing is approaching the bottom. None of these indicators is reliable. Financial indicators, which tend to turn around well ahead of economic data, are too fickle for that. Economic surveys, which are more reliable but have only a short lead time over actual output, have not yet shifted enough to confirm an imminent turnaround. Still, the fact that many indicators are pointing in the same direction strengthens hope that the worst could soon be over, conceded Berenberg Economics. Since late 2018, we have maintained a simple call for the global economy. The downturn in global trade and manufacturing will end if and when the trade tensions stoked by U.S. President Donald Trump start to fade. After these tensions escalated sharply in early May and then again in August 2019, the news flow on trade and Brexit has turned neutral to mildly encouraging in the past 3 months. Berenberg added. The FTSE 100 remained in negative territory but had wiped out most of the morning's losses at 7,280, down 12 points, 0.2%. Some equities, such as hotels and restaurants owner Whitbread plc, LON, WTB, received some love. The shares topped the FTSE leaderboard with a 3.9% gain at 4,349p, after Barclays Capital moved to overweight from equal weight. 1:45 p.m. U.S. markets set to open higher in the U.S. The S. In London, the FTSE 100 was off the bottom at 7,268, down 24 points, 0.3%, at 7,268. In contrast, the FTSE 250 was in positive territory, up 74 points, 0.4%, led by Bus and Trains outfit First Group plc, LON, FGP, which clawed back 6p of yesterday's losses to trade at around 111.4p. The stock had been sold off yesterday on concerns that the sale of its Greyhound bus was proceeding at more of a Dachshund pace than a Greyhound one. Elsewhere in the FTSE 250, media company Future plc, LON, FUTR, was 1.9% higher at 1,482p after raising year guidance. Finabler plc, LON, Fin, the payments platform operator, was 1.7% higher at 178.4p after announcing a list of heavy hitters, JP Morgan Cazenove, Goldman Sachs International, and Barclays Bank plc, as its corporate brokers. 12:05 p.m. Telecom stocks in focus. The FTSE's losses have lengthened as the pound erased earlier losses against the US dollar. London's gauge of large-cap shares was down 41 points, 0.6%, at 7,252, while the mid-cap index, the FTSE 250, was down slightly less in percentage terms, with a 40.0.2% fall to 20,192. Attention has been firmly focused on the telecom sector this morning. First, the Labour Party's announced plans last night to nationalise BT's Openreach arm to provide fast and free fibre broadband for all, while this morning BT announced it had secured exclusive rights to all top-flight European club football until 2024 today. The shares were down 2.2% at 190.92p. Free superfast broadband for all, Labour Party, pledges ahead of UK election. The UK's main opposition party has promised to provide fast and free fibre broadband across the country by nationalising parts of the BT group. Link, https://t.co/xqmte5, macro test, at macro test 5, November 15, 2019. Mid-cap sector peer Talk Telecom Group plc's, LON, Talk, reported improved first-half profits as it added a record number of new superfast broadband customers and cut costs too. That was not enough to prevent the shares from sliding 3.1% to 105.2p, with traders apparently spooked by the thought of City Fibre's proposed acquisition of Talk's Fibre Nation unit being yanked as a result of the Labour Party's Broadband for All pledge. Revealed, the proposed deal for City Fibre Holdings to acquire Talk's Fibre Nation fast fibre broadband unit, which was hours from being signed last night, appears to have been stalled by Labour's unexpected announcement of a plan to partly nationalise BT Group. Mark Kleinman, at Mark Kleinman Sky, November 15, 2019, 11 a.m. Traders close positions ahead of the weekend. London's blue chips are now lower on balance, despite sterling losing a bit of ground on the foreign exchange markets. The FTSE 100 was down 23 points, 0.3%, at 7,270, with housebuilder Berkeley Group Holdings plc, LON, BKG, down 2.8% at 4,449p, leading the retreat, after Goldman Sachs downgraded the stock to sell from neutral. Telecommunications giant BT Group plc, LON, BT.A, continues to react fairly phlegmatically to the Labour Party's announcement that it wants to partly renationalise the company once known as the General Post Office. BT's shares were down 2.4%. The company joins a list of stocks, which includes infrastructure funds, transport firms and utilities, whose fortunes are now tied up with what happens on the 12th of December, said a J. Bell's investment director, Russ Mould, referring to the date of the forthcoming general election. The plan is to take the infrastructure bit of BT, Openreach, plus a few other bits of the business under state control. In combination with increased taxes on tech firms to fund investment in the broadband network, this is intended to deliver on a bold pledge of free broadband for all. The relatively muted share price response likely reflects investors' skepticism about the plan getting off the ground. Current polling suggests Labour is unlikely to win a majority in the looming election. However, if the party was to enjoy a late surge in the polls, BT shareholders might start to get a little bit more nervous. Mould opined. 10 a.m. Miners shore up the FTSE. A fairly bright start, a wobble and then a recovery has been the FTSE story so far this morning. London's top shares index was up 18 points, 0.2% in mid-morning trade, helped by demand for mining stocks. Rio Tinto plc's LON, Rio, shares ticked 2.3% higher after the giant miner vowed to subscribe to $221 United States MLN rights shares of subsidiary Energy Resources of Australia to clean up a uranium mine. Rio Tinto to fund uranium mine cleanup. https://t.co/k40ec via at Proactive. UK at Rio Tinto. UK, November 15, 2019. Sector peers BHP Group plc, LON, BHP, and Glencore plc, LON, Glen, notched up gains of just under 2% as hopes grew of some sort of trade agreement between the US and China being agreed soon. Comments from White House economic advisor Larry Kudlow signaled an impending breakthrough in trade talks, yet this is the latest in a long line of optimistic Kudlow comments which have thus far proven ill-founded, observed party pooper Joshua Mahoney at IG Group. AstraZeneca plc, LON, AZN, dipped 6p to 7,310p despite gaining approval from the European Commission for its Q-Trilmet type 2 diabetes drug. 8:25 a.m. Positive end to the week. Trade negotiations and their status continued to dominate market sentiment even if talks between China and the US appear to be moving at a snail's pace. London's traders seemed to be in more buoyant mood over the prospects for a peace accord, with the index of UK blue chips opening 31 points higher at 7,324.14. The actual optimism is again based on unilateral comments from the US officials, said a cautious Ipek Oskardeskaya, analyst at London Capital Group. What's cooking in the White House may not look as appetizing to Chinese officials, who have made a clear statement this week that they won't sign off on an explicit amount of farm purchases. The miners topped the risers list led by Glencore, LON, Glen, which was up 2% on hopes a trade deal could kickstart Chinese demand for commodities. BT, LON, BT.A, was an early 2.5% faller amid talks that Labour is planning to renationalise part of the communications group. Among the small caps, the standout, for completely the wrong reason, was Veltyco, LON, VLTY, which lost 55% of its value after the online gaming specialist sounded the earnings alarm and painted a bleak picture for its ongoing prospects. Proactive news headlines. Thor Mining plc's LON, THR, ASX, THR, associate Envirocopper has started field pumping tests at the Kapunda Copper Project in South Australia. Envirocopper can earn up to 75% of the rights over metals produced by in situ recovery at Kapunda. Thor holds a 25% interest in Envirocopper, an option to increase its stake to 30%. FTSE Energy plc, LON, AFC, a leading provider of hydrogen power generation technologies, has announced the launch of its new corporate website. The new website reflects a stronger emphasis on brand and product identity, encapsulating FTSE Energy's inaugural range of products, the Hydroxcell LTM and Hydroxcell STM fuel cell ranges, together with the company's proprietary anionic exchange membrane, Alpha MEMTM. The website is scheduled to go live at noon today, the 15th of November 2019, with exact timing determined by Internet replication factors. Instem plc, LON, INS, is moving into safety assessment software with a $4.60 MLN, earnings-enhancing U.S. acquisition. It is buying Veltyco, which has developed a suite of products that use sophisticated artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms to predict potentially harmful drug side effects. Instem is handing over a mix of cash and shares for the Columbus, Ohio-based firm, with $3.35 MLN paid on the deal's completion. This will be followed by a deferred $750,000 and a $500,000 earnout. Europa Metals Limited, LON, EUZ, has started mobilization ahead of a diamond drilling campaign at the Toral project in northwest Spain. The drill program has aimed at a target area to the west of the project's existing resource zone. It aims to prove up additional resources and upgrade confidence in the resource numbers. Central Nic Group plc, LON, CNIC, has confirmed that it is currently engaged in advanced discussions regarding the potential acquisition of Team Internet AG, which may or may not lead to a transaction being completed. Central Nic, which derives revenue from the subscription sales of domain names and web services, pointed out that Team Internet is a Munich-based business which is a subsidiary of Madame Media Group Limited, LON, MTNY. Inspirit Energy plc, LON, CAB, told investors it has appointed David Kimmery as the chief executive of the group's Canadian subsidiary, Inspirit Energy Inc., with immediate effect. Kimmery replaces Paul Lafferty, who was president of the Canadian vehicle. Amrit Pharma plc, LON, AYP, a biopharmaceutical company focused on developing and delivering innovative new treatments to help improve the lives of patients with rare and orphan diseases, announced that following the completion of a capital reduction, the company now has positive distributable reserves and it has agreed to repurchase 4,864,656 ordinary shares from certain institutional investors. In exchange for the ordinary shares, these institutions have been issued an equivalent number of nil-cost warrants entitling the holder to subscribe for one ordinary share at nil cost. The company also announced that it has redeemed the one redeemable share in issue with a nominal value of £49,999.94. Motif Bio plc, LON, MTFB, Nasdaq, MTFB, announced that at the general meeting of the company held earlier on Thursday in New York, all resolutions put to shareholders were duly passed. Open Orphan plc, LON, ORF, a European-focused, rare and orphan drug consulting services platform, announced that the company will be attending the Jefferies 2019 London Healthcare Conference on 20th–21 November 2019 in London, UK. Open Orphan said its chief executive officer, Cathal Friel, will be in attendance and will be doing one-on-one meetings with attendees at the conference. Adamas Finance Asia Limited, LON, ADAM, the London-quoted company focused on providing shareholders with attractive uncorrelated, risk-adjusted returns from a diversified portfolio of Pan-Asian investments, announced that, further to its announcement on the 21st of October 2019, all conditions precedent in relation to the proposed equity investment in Infinity TNP have been fulfilled and the share sale and purchase agreement has now completed. Separately, the company also said late on Thursday that due to the current unrest in Hong Kong, it has postponed its annual general meeting which was scheduled to be held there on Friday. The group added that if the situation in Hong Kong remains volatile in the near term, the directors will consider moving the venue for the AGM. 6:45 a.m. London called higher. London is expected to open on the front foot amid reports that US-China trade talks had made very good progress. Spread betting quotes indicated the FTSE 100, which tumbled 58 points yesterday to close at 7,293, will open around 34 points higher at 7,327. In the U.S., White House economic advisor Larry Kudlow indicated that an agreement with China was close, although he added that President Trump likes what he sees, but he's not ready to make a commitment. Nonetheless, that was enough to give a lift to the Hang Seng Index in Hong Kong, which was up 32 points. Elsewhere in Asia, Japan's Nikkei 225 was 178 points firmer at 26,355. What's cooking in the White House may not look as appetizing to Chinese officials, who have made a clear statement this week that they won't sign off on an explicit amount of farm purchases, said IPEC Oscar Deskaya at LCG. The threat of more tariffs is real. On the other hand, the U.S. will likely add 15% tariffs on $160 billion United States dollars worth of Chinese imports, if the partial deal is not inked by December 15. With this, there is more clarity on what would happen if the two countries didn't come to an agreement within a month than what would happen if they did. Investors seem willing to stomach the risks, however. Today's optimism will likely push the U.S. stock indices to fresh records at the opening bell. BS. Last night, BS. On the UK corporate scene, the schedule is looking a bit on the thin side, save for high-flying media company, Future plc, LON, FUTR, which is releasing its year results. The company, which publishes titles such as PC Gamer and Guitar Player, is unlikely to give much guidance for the current financial year. Investors are impatient to know more on the integration of Purge, which should be coming to an end, and Mobile Nations, where investors are looking for details on the drivers of its exceptional performance to date. Deutsche Bank initiated Future this week with a buy rating, slapping a target price of 1,562p on the stock. Future has been significantly re-rated, following 2 years of extraordinary operational and share price performance, fueled by value-enhancing Significant announcements expected on Friday. Finals, Future plc, LON, FUTR, Interims, Fuller Smith. Crude, 62 United States dollars and 48 cents a barrel, up 20 cents. Bitcoin, 8,571 United States dollars, down 89 United States dollars. City headlines. Financial Times. Google is set to address some user privacy concerns by stopping advertisers viewing personal data. Burberry registered strong growth in China, Korea and Japan, but took a knock in Hong Kong, where sales were down by more than 10% year-on-year. Norway's $1 trillion United States dollars oil fund is bidding its shares in G4S over human rights issues in the Middle East. National Grid has expressed confidence in its ability to address concerns raised by the governor of New York over gas supplies. The Daily Telegraph. BMW boss Oliver Zipse has fueled further speculation that the German car titan could snap up a stake in Jaguar Land Rover. Weakening global economy could undermine universities' finances as slow growth hits the government's accounts and makes rich donors